My name is Lily Anderson. This is my story. It was a quiet Sunday morning when I suddenly found myself experiencing an unimaginable experience. My heart stopped, and in those few moments of clinical death, my soul left my body. I didn't know what was happening, but suddenly I was enveloped in a bright light, flowing effortlessly toward it. As I got closer, I encountered Jesus Christ. His presence was overwhelming, radiating love and peace I had never felt before. That moment changed me forever. What I learned from him about life, faith, and abundance is shaping my perspective in ways I never expected. Today in this video, I'm going to share a deep secret that Jesus told me. Before I continue, please tell me in the comments where you are watching this video from. And to connect with me, subscribe to the channel. As my heart stopped, everything around me faded away. There was no pain, no fear, only a deep sense of peace that I can't fully explain. It felt as if time itself had stopped. I was no longer bound by the worldly concerns I had been carrying around for so long. Instead, I felt weightless, free, and completely detached from my body. The chaos of the hospital room had gone away, replaced by an overwhelming peace. As I drifted, I saw a tunnel in front of me, a tunnel that seemed to shimmer with light, stretching endlessly forward. The light was not harsh or blinding, but soft, inviting, and warm, like the most comfortable embrace you can imagine. I didn't know where I was going, but I felt an inner knowing that this was where I was supposed to be. There was no fear in this place, only faith that I was being guided. As I moved closer to the light, something incredible happened. I felt drawn toward it, as if I was being called by something bigger than me. And then, in the distance, I saw him, Jesus. I can't even describe what he looked like, because his presence is so difficult to put into words. He radiated such warmth, love, and compassion that everything around me seemed insignificant. It wasn't just the light, it was his being, his essence, that surrounded me in such a way that I felt completely seen, understood, and loved. When our eyes met, it was as if he knew everything about me, my joys, my fears, my struggles. Yet there was no judgment, only acceptance so deep that it reached the core of my soul. I was overwhelmed with the feeling that I was home, that this was where I was always meant to be. He spoke to me, but not in words. His voice was not heard in the traditional sense. It resonated within me, reaching places I didn't know existed. I heard him say, "Lily, your faith has helped you endure so much, and now I will show you the way." That moment marked the beginning of a journey I never expected, a journey that changed every notion I had about life, faith, and abundance. As I stood in his presence, I knew I was about to learn things that would forever change the way I viewed the world and my place in it. This encounter, this divine encounter, was just the beginning of a profound transformation. As I stood before Jesus, he began to speak to me, not with words as we know them, but with a deep knowing that filled my entire being. "Lily," he said, "there is a divine flow of abundance available to all, but it comes with understanding and living in alignment with God's principles." I was struck by how simple yet profound these truths were. He went on to share the fundamental principles that would guide me toward a life of true prosperity. The first principle he emphasized was faith. He told me, "Faith is the foundation of everything. When you trust that God's plan is greater than your own, the doors to abundance open naturally." He reminded me of the times I had trusted him, even when the situation seemed impossible. It was those moments of surrender, when I let go of fear and control, that blessings flowed into my life in the most unexpected ways. Next, he spoke about gratitude. Gratitude, he said, creates a magnetic force that draws blessings into your life. Jesus showed me how focusing on what we have, rather than what we lack, shifts our energy toward abundance. He shared images of people who lived simple lives but were rich in gratitude and how their blessings multiplied. Even the smallest act of thankfulness, whether for a meal or a kind gesture, had the power to transform their circumstances. Generosity was the third principle. Money is energy, he explained. It flows where love and purpose reside. Jesus showed me how acts of giving, whether it's a kind word, a donation, or a simple gesture of support, create a flow of abundance that is not just material but spiritual. I saw people giving from the heart, expecting nothing in return, and receiving blessings in ways they couldn't have imagined. He reminded me that when we serve others, we align ourselves with God's will, and in doing so, we unlock the natural flow of prosperity. He also revealed to me that abundance is not about striving for wealth, but about living in harmony with these divine principles. Live in faith, give with love, and express gratitude, and the flow of money and blessings will come naturally. Jesus said, this was not just about money. It was about a way of living, one that prioritizes service, trust, and love over material gain. In that moment, I understood that true prosperity is a byproduct of living in alignment with God's laws. When we focus on serving others, expressing gratitude, and trusting in His provision, everything we need will be provided. The money will come, but more importantly, so will peace, joy, and purpose. As I stood before Jesus, His presence was filled with a love and peace I had never experienced before. He spoke to me, but it wasn't in the way we usually speak. His words went deeper, touching my heart and soul, making me understand things that had eluded me before. He told me something that would forever change the way I looked at life. Generosity is not just a good thing to do. It is essential for unlocking divine abundance. I watched as He revealed visions of people giving selflessly. Some were giving their time, others their money, and some were offering kindness or a listening ear. I saw how each small act of generosity sparked a ripple effect, like a stone thrown into a pond. The ripples extended outward, touching lives in ways the giver never expected. A man who donated his last few dollars to a struggling family ended up bringing hope to a mother who was ready to give up. She, inspired by his act, reached out to help others, and soon an entire community was transformed. Jesus said, when you give, you release blessings into the world. But what you give, whether it is time, money, or love, will come back to you in ways you cannot imagine. He made it clear that generosity isn't just about the recipient. It's about creating a flow of abundance that benefits everyone. The giver, the receiver, and even those who witness the act are touched by the love and energy that flows through the exchange. Then He turned my attention to faith. Generosity without faith is like planting seeds in dry soil, He explained. Faith is the water that nourishes those seeds and helps them grow. Jesus showed me that unwavering faith in God's plan is what empowers us to give, even when we feel like we have nothing left to give. When we trust that God will provide, even in times of scarcity, it opens up the floodgates of blessings. Faith transforms fear into courage and doubt into certainty. With faith, we give not out of obligation, but out of trust that we are part of a greater plan. I understood then that generosity and faith are intertwined. They work together to create a life filled with divine abundance. It's not about accumulating wealth for ourselves. It's about living in a way that reflects God's love and provision. When we give with an open heart and unwavering faith, we align ourselves with the flow of blessings that God has set in motion. And in return, we receive more than we could ever imagine, not just material wealth, but peace, joy, and purpose. As I stood before Jesus, He looked into my eyes with such compassion and wisdom, and he began to speak softly, yet his words carried a weight that I felt deep in my heart. He spoke about the dangers of chasing after wealth for the wrong reasons, warning me that the pursuit of material things can easily lead one down a path of emptiness and spiritual destruction. He told me that it's not wealth itself that is dangerous, it's the attachment to it, the obsession with accumulating more, and the desire to use it solely for self-interest. Money, he said, can either be a tool for good or a trap that leads to your downfall. It's all in how you use it and what your heart desires most. Then he showed me a vision of a man who had spent his entire life collecting riches. He had built a vast empire, homes, cars, businesses, all the things the world deems valuable. But as I watched this man, I saw something tragic. Despite all his wealth, he was miserable. He was alone, surrounded by possessions that had no soul, no warmth. His life was consumed with acquiring more, yet he never felt satisfied. Each new purchase, each new deal, was simply a temporary distraction from a deep, unshakable emptiness inside him. Jesus spoke to me, saying, "This man was rich in material things, but poor in spirit. He never sought true fulfillment, only fleeting pleasure, and in the end, his wealth could not fill the void in his soul." Jesus then warned me about the subtle ways materialism takes root in our hearts. He said, "The desire for more can become all-consuming. It can blind you to what really matters: love, kindness, and your connection with God." It's easy to start believing that the more you have, the happier you'll be. But it's a lie that the world tells you over and over again. Wealth, when pursued for its own sake, brings nothing but sorrow. He continued, showing me how greed can cause people to become disconnected from their true purpose in life. I saw men and women who were so focused on acquiring things that they neglected their relationships, their families, and their spiritual growth. They were chasing after something that could never truly satisfy them, and in doing so, they lost sight of what really matters: the love of God, the service to others, and the peace that comes from living in alignment with divine purpose. Jesus reminded me that it's easy to fall into this trap. In a world that celebrates material success, it can feel like the ultimate goal is to have more, do more, and be more. But he cautioned me, saying, "If you let the pursuit of wealth become your purpose, you will lose the joy and peace that come from knowing that you are enough just as you are." He showed me that the key is balance. It's not wrong to have money or possessions, but it is dangerous when they become your idol, your source of identity, and your measure of success. The true riches lie in love, generosity, faith, and the ability to use the blessings you've received to help others and build God's kingdom on earth. Jesus urged me to remember that material wealth is temporary. It can be here one day and gone the next. But the wealth of the heart, faith, kindness, love, and generosity lasts forever. When we focus on these eternal treasures, we are rich beyond measure, and no amount of money can take that away. As I stood there with Jesus, listening to his words, he began to share a profound truth with me, a blueprint for prosperity that I could carry with me for the rest of my life. He explained that true prosperity is not just about accumulating wealth or material things, but about aligning ourselves with God's divine plan. He told me that when we live according to a higher purpose, prosperity comes naturally. Trust in God first, he said gently. It's easy to think that wealth comes from our own efforts, from our hard work, from our strategies, but the truth is, all blessings come from God. He is the source of everything. You must first trust him with your life, your dreams, and yes, even your finances. When you put your trust in God, you open the door to a world of abundance. because God will never withhold what you need when you are faithful and obedient to His will. I felt a deep sense of peace as He spoke, a calmness that washed over me. Trusting in God was the foundation of this blueprint. It was a reminder to stop relying on my own strength alone, and instead, lean on His wisdom and guidance. I had been so focused on doing things my way, but now I understood that aligning my heart with God's plan would bring the prosperity I sought. Then, Jesus spoke about the second part of the divine blueprint: serve a higher purpose with your wealth. He said, wealth is not just for your comfort or pleasure. It's a tool that can be used for good in the world. When you use your resources to help others, to uplift the needy, to build the kingdom of God, you align yourself with His divine purpose. This is the way to true prosperity. It's not about hoarding your blessings, but sharing them to make the world a better place. I could feel the weight of His words. How many times had I thought of wealth as something for me to keep, to protect, to enjoy? But now I saw that it was meant for a greater good. When we use what we have to serve others, we participate in something much bigger than ourselves. It's not about accumulation, it's about contribution. This was a key part of the divine blueprint. Next, Jesus spoke about taking action. You must act. You must be willing to move in faith and work towards your goals. Prosperity does not come from sitting idly by, waiting for things to happen. It's not about being passive or expecting something to fall into your lap. It's about doing the work with faith, with passion, and with purpose. But always remember to put God first, even in your actions. Let your actions reflect His will for your life. I thought about how often I hesitated, how often I waited for the right moment or perfect conditions before moving forward. But Jesus made it clear that prosperity requires action, bold, purposeful action in the direction of our divine calling. Then He spoke about the importance of gratitude. Gratitude is the key that unlocks the door to divine abundance. He explained, when you are grateful for what you have, no matter how little, you open yourself up to receive more. Gratitude aligns your heart with God's blessings. It shifts your focus from what you lack to what you already have, and in doing so, you attract more blessings into your life. I was struck by how powerful this simple act could be. Gratitude wasn't just a nice feeling, it was a transformative practice. The more thankful I became for even the smallest blessings, the more my life would open up to receive even greater things. Finally, Jesus spoke about giving. Generosity is not just a good thing to do, it's a principle that unlocks divine abundance. When you give freely, without expectation of receiving, you participate in the flow of God's blessings. It's not about the amount, but the heart behind the giving. When you give with love, with joy, and with a desire to bless others, you create a cycle of abundance that returns to you. I could see it now. The divine blueprint for prosperity wasn't just about getting. It was about giving, trusting, serving, acting, and being grateful. It was a harmonious flow of energy that allowed prosperity to enter every area of life. Jesus' words transformed my understanding of wealth. Prosperity wasn't just about what I could gain. It was about what I could contribute, how I could serve, and how I could trust God in all things. The more I followed this blueprint, trusting God, serving with purpose, taking inspired action, practicing gratitude, and giving freely, the more I would align myself with divine abundance. This wasn't just a path to material wealth. It was a path to spiritual fulfillment and a life filled with peace, joy, and purpose. And I knew, without a doubt, that this divine blueprint would guide me to everything I was meant to become. As I stood in the presence of Jesus, I was suddenly overcome with a vision, one that left me in awe. It was as though the very heavens had opened before me, and I could see a magnificent storehouse, unlike anything I had ever imagined. This wasn't a storehouse filled with material wealth, gold, or silver. Instead, it was brimming with divine treasures, treasures that were far more valuable than anything the world could offer. Jesus looked at me with a gentle smile, and I could sense the love and wisdom radiating from him. "This is heaven's storehouse," he said softly. "Here, you will find the true abundance, the treasures of peace, joy, and opportunities to live a fulfilling life. These are the treasures that last, treasures that cannot be bought or stolen. They are the blessings that flow from a life lived in alignment with God's will." I was amazed by what I saw. The storehouse was full of light, radiant beams that seemed to pulse with life. There were shelves filled with peace, joy, and countless opportunities to serve, to love, and to grow. It was like a vibrant, living collection of gifts that anyone could receive if they chose to live in faith and follow God's plan. The abundance I had always dreamed of wasn't just in material things. It was in these profound spiritual treasures. Jesus continued, "True abundance isn't about collecting wealth or possessions. It's about the peace that fills your heart when you live in harmony with God. It's about the joy that comes from serving others and seeing them thrive. And it's about the countless opportunities to bless others and make a difference in the world. These are the treasures that truly fulfill you. When you align your life with God's will, these blessings flow into your life and they become your inheritance." I realized then that I had been looking for abundance in all the wrong places. I had focused so much on material success, on wealth and possessions, that I had overlooked the deeper, more meaningful blessings that God offers. Peace, joy, and purpose are the true treasures, and they are always available to us when we seek to live according to God's will. Jesus explained further, the blessings from heaven's storehouse are not limited. They flow freely to all who seek them. They are available to anyone who chooses to live by faith, who trusts in God's plan, and who chooses to serve others with a humble heart. The more you live in alignment with God, the more these blessings will pour into your life. The flow of blessings is constant. It never runs dry. There is always more peace to be found, more joy to be experienced, and more opportunities to be of service to others. I could sense the limitless nature of these divine treasures. They were not finite like earthly wealth, which could be used up or lost. The blessings from heaven were infinite, available to anyone who believed, who lived in faith, and who trusted in God's abundant love. These treasures were meant to be shared, not hoarded, and the more I gave of myself, whether it was through acts of kindness, love, or service, the more I would experience the flow of divine blessings. Jesus also spoke about the importance of trust. When you trust in God, you open the door to His abundant blessings. Trust that God knows what you need, that He has a plan for your life that is far greater than anything you can imagine. Trust that, even in times of hardship or struggle, He is working behind the scenes to bring blessings into your life. Your job is to remain faithful, to keep seeking Him, and to walk in His ways. I understood now that the flow of blessings was not about asking for wealth or success for its own sake. It was about trusting in God's plan, knowing that He would provide what I needed at the right time. And by living in alignment with His will, I would be open to receive the blessings of peace, joy, and opportunity that would lead me to a life of purpose and fulfillment. In that moment, I felt a deep sense of gratitude wash over me. I realized that true abundance had nothing to do with what I owned or how much money I had. It was about living with faith, embracing peace, and being open to the joy and opportunities that God had in store for me. Heaven's storehouse was full of treasures that would never run out, treasures that could never be taken away. And they were mine to receive when I chose to align my life with God's will. As the vision faded, I felt lighter, more at peace, and more determined than ever to live a life that was fully aligned with God's divine plan. I knew now that true prosperity was not about accumulating wealth. It was about living in faith, seeking God's will, and embracing the treasures of peace, joy, and opportunity that He offers to all who trust in Him. As I stood in the presence of Jesus, His words pierced my heart with a sense of urgency and clarity. He spoke with such compassion and love, yet there was a firm resolve in His voice as He encouraged me to take action, to share the message of living with a divine purpose. "Lily," He said, "you must understand that when people live in alignment with their true divine mission, the blessings will follow. Money, wealth, and abundance come quickly when one is focused on serving others, on fulfilling the purpose they were created for." I felt a deep sense of conviction in His words, and it was as if the very core of my being was being awakened to a truth I had only just begun to understand. "The world has it backwards," Jesus continued. "Many people chase after money, believing that wealth will bring them fulfillment. But in truth, money follows those who live with a sense of higher purpose. It follows those who are focused on serving others, on making a difference in the lives of those around them." I thought about my own journey, how I had spent so much time striving for financial success, believing that wealth would solve my problems and bring me happiness. Yet, as I stood there with Jesus, I realized how wrong I had been. The key to true abundance wasn't in chasing money. It was in living a life that was focused on a higher purpose, on serving God's will, and on making an impact in the world. Jesus continued, "When you align your life with God's purpose, you step into a flow of divine provision. It's as if the very forces of the universe shift in your favor. When your heart is set on helping others, when you give with a selfless spirit, the doors of abundance open wide. Money becomes a natural byproduct of a life that is dedicated to service, to making the world a better place." He paused, letting His words sink in. "You see, Lily, wealth isn't bad. Money itself is neutral. It's a tool. What matters is how you use it. When you focus on serving others, when you work to lift people up, that's when the true blessings of wealth come into your life. When your life is rooted in purpose, everything else falls into place." I couldn't help but feel a sense of urgency in Jesus' words. There was a calling to action, an invitation to live with intention. "You must share this message," He said. "The world needs to hear it. Too many are focused on the wrong things, chasing after success, fame, and material wealth. But the true path to prosperity is found in service, in living for something greater than yourself. The moment you stop focusing on what you can gain and start focusing on what you can give, everything changes." His words were a powerful revelation. I could feel the weight of this calling. I understood that my purpose wasn't just to live for myself, but to inspire others to live with a sense of divine mission. I had to share what I had learned, that when you live in alignment with your purpose, when you dedicate yourself to serving others, wealth flows naturally. Jesus continued to speak with compassion, urging me to live out this message with authenticity and passion. When you trust in God's plan and focus on serving others, you will see how everything you need is provided. The world will take notice, and the right opportunities will present themselves. The flow of blessings, money, opportunities, relationships will come to you effortlessly. I was overcome with a sense of peace and understanding. The path ahead was clear. My mission was no longer just about seeking financial success. It was about living a purpose-driven life, focused on serving others and making a positive impact. Money was no longer my goal. It was a tool that would support my mission. Jesus smiled warmly at me and said, "Trust in this truth, Lily. As you focus on your divine purpose and serve others, you will find that abundance will flow to you. You will witness the power of living in alignment with God's will. The money comes quickly, yes, but it's not about the money. It's about the lives you touch, the difference you make, and the joy you experience in knowing you are fulfilling your purpose. In that moment, I felt a deep sense of peace and certainty. I knew what I had to do. I was called to share this message with the world, to encourage others to live with purpose, to serve others selflessly, and to trust that abundance would follow. The more I dedicated myself to serving God and others, the more I would experience the flow of divine blessings. This was the true path to prosperity, and it was available to anyone willing to take the step to align with their divine purpose.